Hey everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. Welcome back to this YouTube channel on narcissism and healing from narcissistic relationships. And here's a new Dr. Ramani truism. I want you to really listen to this and feel this one because it came out of me and I think it's all the truth you need to know. Healing is feeling. I know that's a little bit cutesy and a little bit too warm and fuzzy for the good old Dr. R, but I'm claiming this one and making this a sort of central healing quote for people experiencing narcissistic relationships and narcissistic abuse. It kind of came out of me spontaneously as I was talking with an audience, and afterwards, a few folks in the audience said just that phrase helped them, so here we are. Feeling is sort of forbidden in narcissistic relationships. Our feelings definitely make the narcissistic people in our lives uncomfortable. Our feelings may evoke shame in them. They may be put off or have contempt for what they perceive as being human weakness. They may view feelings as an inconvenience. Whatever their reasons, if we show emotion in a narcissistic relationship that the narcissistic person doesn't quite agree with, then we will face their negative emotions, frankly, invalidation, rage, shaming, dismantling of our reality. If you were raised with a narcissistic parent, you were in essence indoctrinated into learning to shut your emotions down or otherwise to face the shaming, mockery, or anger of a parent. When it starts that young, we start to learn that feeling is a very risky space, and you become trained to shut feelings down, to not show them, or maybe even find other ways to express them that may end up harming yourself. Now, in narcissistic relationships, there is one emotion they express, and they express a lot. And I know you know the answer to this. That's anger. Ultimately, all of their emotions seem to be like roads that all feed into anger. Shame is expressed as anger. Emotions, the narcissistic person is feeling, they may equate that with weakness. Those feelings could be anxiety or depression. Those evoke more shame and then anger. So even if the narcissistic person has another emotional experience, it always ends up expressed as anger. So the prevailing emotional state of a narcissistic relationship is anger. And their anger sort of shuts down all other emotional expression. Basically, all the emotions really become anger. And as a result of this, people in narcissistic relationships often feel that they're caught up in something that almost feels like a form of dissociation. Having to do that much emotional silencing means that feelings get separated from. And while that is completely understandable, it doesn't work once healing begins. And yes, not feeling can be more comfortable than the tidal wave of emotion that feelings can bring, the mix of grief and anger and sadness. It's a very uncomfortable mix of feelings that often prevail in these relationships. But the one thing you have to remember about feelings is that they happen, and life happens, and feelings are a part of life, and the feelings change over time, and the feelings in and of themselves are not a bad thing. Feelings are little messengers, and being able to watch them and hold them and name them and recognize them and care for ourselves in the midst of them and not be scared by them, all of that's a good thing. Recognizing that our feelings don't define us. You may feel angry. That doesn't mean you're an angry person. In narcissistic relationships, feelings get a bad rap because they're pathologized by the narcissistic person. We're ashamed for them. If we receive feelings, we experience feelings and express them appropriately, that's a game changer. If we are sad, we feel it. We give ourselves a moment to slow down, be kind to ourselves, maybe reach out for help, or do something we know we are good at or enjoy. But above all else, recognize, just like all feelings, sadness is going to pass too. All of that changes things. I know any of you who have ever watched Inside Out, you know that joy needed sadness, right? It's how it works. Even people who are not in narcissistic relationships struggle with feelings. But taking ourselves back from these relationships and healing means a multi-step process of pulling ourselves out of these relationships, of unshaming our own feelings, of finding safe spaces and ways to express them, away from the narcissistic person, obviously, and learning what our feelings are and how to be with them. And then that takes us to my little aphorism: healing is feeling. If you are a survivor of narcissistic relationships and you are feeling, then as miserable as it may be, it's a good thing. You are alive. You're human. Things happen to you. And if you are feeling them, it means that you are connecting back to yourself. That day you start crying and you can't stop, my only wish for you is that you have a spot to do it and perhaps some support so you can keep crying, because on the other side of that big cry are more feelings and more life where you get to feel and be you. Narcissistic relationships steal so much from us: our sense of self, our sense of competence, our sense of goodness, our sense of trust in ourselves. And they also steal our sense of safety in our own emotions. As we climb back into all of this, into our emotions, confusing and painful that it is, the pain, the feeling, that's the win. So if you are starting to feel, it does really mean that you are healing. I know it doesn't feel good. I remember when my mom had a surgery and she started feeling all these tingly feelings in her hands again, and she got scared by them. And then when I took her to the doctor, they said, the pressure has actually been lightened up. The signals are sending. Those nerve cells, they were alive. It didn't feel good. Still doesn't feel great, but it's there, and she's slowly able to do more things with her hands. The healing is the feeling. And so, you know me, I am not up for cutesy sayings, but this one, it kind of came out of me, and then the more I sat with it, and the more I applied it to thinking about folks I've worked with, people I continue to talk to, this one holds some weight. So if you're feeling, it does feel scary as hell, because think about what's always happened to us when we've felt our emotions. But if you are feeling them, I promise you, this means you're going in the right direction. And just like mom with those painful hands, little by little, it gets a little bit better, but it means things are alive and they're coming back, and you'll come back too. Thanks again.